Action. Welcome, Neil.
Welcome. Nice to meet you.
You too, sir. So do you want to introduce yourself there?
My name's Neil. I'm a GP, but I'm also an artist as well. And I think the concept of my art is just for to help people with healing spiritually, mentally, and just helping people through their struggles, like mentally, also physically as well, because physical problems can pertain to mental health problems as well. So I think art and art therapy, any creative process, is a very good means to let people express themselves.
Of course, yeah. And what do you find? What do you find with patients the most difficult thing for them to express?
I think it's what they're actually feeling and what the actual issue is. Because for example, if I give without breaking any confidentiality. So there was one patient who came in, was really angry with the whole system, felt as if no one was listening to him, and he was demanding blood tests. So we gave it to him, and then he came back, said all the results were completely normal, but he was still very angry and upset. And it's only because I listened to him, and he said this one thing. He said, "Oh, I feel as if I'm a failure." And because I was listening, I picked that up, and because of that, he went into it, and then he just started breaking down. So the whole thing was just, he was dealing with a lot of stuff for a good few years, and he just didn't have anyone to talk to. He didn't have any platform or any way of getting that out. So I think a lot of people, especially, I know I'm not to stereotype, but I think a lot of men in particular are not very forthcoming with what they're actually going through.
Mm-hmm. It's been like that for centuries, it's a deep conditioning. It's the nature of the beast, But I think it's improved dramatically over time.
Definitely.
With the era we're living in now, but there is to be honest with you, there is still a bit of a stigma there, and the way things are going at the moment, which I something I read a couple of weeks ago, this woke movement, which I'm very much against, getting children, boys, to name out to be ashamed to be a man.
Yeah.
Which is deeply disturbing.
It is.
So that is just adding onto the problem. And these children now have created a belief that's going to take decades to break from.
No, definitely. And I think that's the difficulty. It's been because of the years of this being ingrained. It's kind of it can be a really difficult process for them to unravel and to heal from.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you see what falls in there, and you probably see it as well. You see, from my perspective, I see a lot of people who suffer in silence, and that's real suffering, right?
Yeah.
But I'm not buying into people who need to throw up a sympathy post all the time. Over exaggerating their experience.
Yes.
It's kind of ego feeding. And I find people, when you probe enough, it takes time for them to come out and speak about it, because they're suffering in silence. And that's also a belief system, to suffer in silence. But the genuine cases do, so it acquires great discernment to navigate through that. Who's genuinely suffering and who's putting on an act.
Oh, definitely, definitely. I think, and I think people are getting really clever at being really deceptive, especially with this pandemic and lockdown. A lot of people are faking their mental health illness to get benefits, but along the line they can be picked up, because the genuine ones, actually, you can just tell from their demeanor and just some of the things they say. When you, exactly as you mentioned, when you probe further, then you can tell the fake from the actual genuine people who are suffering.
Yeah, big time, you know. And I would veer more to help them to give a voice to the voiceless, you know.
And definitely, I think that's definitely, and I think that's where art can come in. I think that can be like a really good way for people who don't may have a language barrier, or may not be particularly particularly good at communicating, or just don't feel as if they can express themselves, that they can express themselves through art. Because yeah, I think that's a really good way for people to help with their mental health.
Absolutely, you know, and as the saying goes, there's a fine line between nirvana and neurosis. And every artist, creative person has a form of neurosis.
Definitely, definitely.
When they tap into that potential and start practicing the creativity, the enter a state of nirvana. Is like, wow. But then it doesn't take too long for the neurosis to hit back in again.
Well, exactly. And I think Picasso was I think Picasso really struggled with that. And I think actually who was it? There was a philosopher, actually. Oh, I can't remember the name. Was it? Because when Picasso went through that blue period, no one could actually tell that he was actually expressing his depression. But there was, I can't remember the philosopher's name. Was it Karl Marx or Jung?
Or Nietzsche?
Was it Nietzsche?
Could be.
I think it was Karl Marx or Jung, I think. But anyway, one of them, huh?
Carl Jung.
Carl Jung, that's it.
Yeah, the psychoanalysis. Yeah, Carl Jung.
Yeah. So I think he picked it up, but no one could. Back then, I think talking about any mental illness was such a taboo in a way. But that's a classic example of like Picasso expressing himself through his art, and yet the sad thing is no one he couldn't voice it, so it ended in tragedy for him.
Absolutely, you know, I'd be a big fan of Picasso's work and his life, you know, and he's all his transition. But it's to mark on the blue period. I wasn't aware of the depression, but I know from a documentary I watched, he was asked, why do you paint in blue? Are you depressed? He said, no, because I just love blue. But maybe that was a cover up.
Yeah.
As well, and that would touch on what you're saying. It was a taboo to say you're a tormented artist or depressed, but a lot of people I find fall into that archetype, the suffering artist, very negatively, you know, and don't really have an understanding of it. But if we look at it, use your creativity to transcend that suffering.
Yes,
you know,
definitely.
But I think the danger is that you solely identify as that. And the moment you identify with that, you're trapped.
Yeah.
You know, there's nothing
exactly
outside that. There's no evolving. And I think Picasso is a great example of transcending that, because he used to paint like Raphael at a very young age, and then got bored with that, and he wanted to evolve. So he wasn't just, okay, I'm really a painting genius, but I want to evolve. I can't keep doing this way.
Yeah, exactly.
You know? So he was unpredictable. He was a wild card, you know?
Yeah, he was. You can tell by the fact that he cut off his hair and posted.
Oh no, you're talking about what's his name? The Dutch painter. Did Picasso cut his ear off?
Yeah, it was Picasso, wasn't it?
No, no, it wasn't. It was the
Oh
Dutch.
no, that was Van Gogh.
Van Gogh.
Sorry.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Jesus, no. Picasso,
That's
never.
another one. That's another artist again
Yeah,
who was who struggled with his mental health as well.
big time. Yeah. All
Yeah,
artists
so
do,
it,
you know.
well, this is the thing exactly. So, because I think with art, I think you delve into that the consciousness in your mind that it helps you really. It opens up a channel really, because with even like, for example, with the human body, like the energy centers we have, the chakras, we have color inside us. Yes, it may not be a physical thing that we can see, but when we visualize, go inwards, we have the color inside. So I think when we do art, it really opens up channels which help us express. And I think yeah, I think those who are awakened actually have that way where they can express themselves. But then I think that the negative thing is that then this opens up other channels which can lead to, if it's not controlled normally, then the neurosis as you discussed. So yeah.
Yeah, and I think the channel you're talking about, basically, I know when I'm creating, it's always an invitation into the unknown, and to trust in that, you know. As we were speaking the other day, like most artists, I think, start off logically, this is the way I'm going to do it, and by the time you're in it, it's a complete opposite.
Yeah.
You know, so that's the paradox of it all. But I think a lot to do with abstract painting. It's an invitation to the collective to
Definitely.
to find out something deeply within themselves. And nobody can interpret one painting the same.
Exactly, well, exactly. And I think, for example, like, thank you for, you know, going through my artwork and liking. I really appreciate that. But I think, for example, with my artwork, the good thing about, well, we're just grateful that people can actually resonate with what's in the drawing and in the painting, and the different people have expressed like a different interpretation, and actually some of the interpretation I didn't even see for myself. So so yeah, I think that's the beauty of abstract art. It's not so much the juxtaposition of colors or shapes, but there's much more to it.
Yeah, and to coin the phrase from you know from Krishnamurti and the scientists in the quantum field, the observer is the observed.
Yeah,
You know, so you can't move from that. You know, so that's why I love
definitely.
abstract, because for me, I know it has helped me greatly to find out things within myself and to trust the process, like really trust it, and to dive into the unknown. It's an invitation, but very few people want to dive into that. And when I'm saying few, like 1%, because it depends on the state of your ego, your neurosis, the whole lot. You can either have an ego inflation, which happens to a lot of artists, or you could have a state of humbleness.
Yes,
Depending on how
exactly.
grounded you are, you know. Be proud, but be humble too, you know.
Exactly. I mean, I think it's, as you mentioned, it's getting the balance between the ego, super ego, and the id as well, actually.
Yeah.
So
it's all a process, all a learning, you know.
it is.
Yeah.
We're all lifelong. We're all. What do I say? It's. We're all learners of life through this journey.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I find not just art, but music, anything creative helps you evolve, you know.
Definitely.
You know, to step into that openness. Now, not let's be honest, not everybody can create, It's down to a personality trait as well. But in saying that, people can create their different things, but not just art or music. It takes a certain personality trait, being very open-minded.
Definitely, definitely. I think you're right. It does. You're definitely right. It does take a certain personality type to create. You're definitely right. I think also some people have that innate talent which they haven't realized, and I think some people can learn, and the more they practice, they can become really talented as well. So I think from my journey, I think I've always been painting from quite a young age. Like my mum was always saying that I've always had like a coloring book or a paintbrush, and then at school I won a prize at the primary school and the sixth form prize, and then secondary school I did GCSE art, and I think that really honed in my skills, and then I continued to paint since then.
Very good, Neil. I tell you what, Neil, let's continue this conversation later on the thing, but I want to make a final point for people listening on Instagram here, that I've coached a few people now who are very open, but are not and are afraid to tap into that creativity because their minds are so judgmental about it. So I put to them, I said, like, really, what the problem there is, you're trying to aim for perfection when you haven't even started yet. And to be honest with you, how can you fuck something up you haven't tried before?
Yeah.
You know, I won't make apologies for the language there, but that's the mentality. And that's what prevents people. But there's only one way you're going to grow. You have to take that step forward and grow and build upon each painting or each piece of music or each creative idea you have. Stop seeking to be perfect, but seek to do something of value.
Definitely,
Which
definitely.
is the most important thing.
Definitely, I completely agree.
I mean, for God's sake, Picasso was born Picasso, but it took a lifetime for him to achieve his ultimate desire.
Yes.
You know,
and
on that saying, look, I was painting like a genius at 13 or something, but it took me a lifetime to paint like a child.
Yeah, exactly.
Fun, all that stuff, you know. So there's great wisdom in that statement, you know.
There is, and it actually parallels with life, right? So when we're younger, we're so eager and keen to grow up, but then when we get to adulthood, we wish I was a child again. My life was so simple. So it's like it is a paradox, and it's
a journey,
definitely a journey, definitely.
Cool. Well, with that note, let's continue on this conversation. I'm really looking forward to it later on this
Great.
evening. Yeah.
Amazing. Great.
Cool. Thanks, Neil.
You're welcome. Welcome. Thank you.
Talk to you in a while.